We know the old saying, when ignorance is bliss, 'tis folly to be wise. The age in which we live, technology, science, has converted intelligence in the supreme virtue of a human being, of society. Yet, I'd like to point out something different. Our rabbis say that this Korach, and I mentioned him already, the one that rebelled against Moses, they say Korach was very intelligent. How did he rebel against Moses, who spoke to God, who was the preferred by God? How did he rebel against him if he was so smart? So there's a Hasidic rabbi, the rabbi of Kotsk, he says the following: Korach, who was so intelligent, how come he relied upon his intelligence? Today, we tend to do that. But yet, there are other parameters by which one has to judge people, by which one has to judge situations. There is no question that in this binary world in which we live, of intelligent telephones and smart TVs, smart telephones, and whatever else we have, science is very important. Intelligence is very important. It requires a sharp intellect in order to develop these things. But in many other things, a carpenter has to be intelligent, a plumber has to be intelligent. There are boxers who are intelligent. There are baseball players who are intelligent. Intelligence plays a part in many things. Yet, I want to argue that there are certain things that don't depend really upon intelligence. Is art dependent upon intelligence? Is music dependent upon intelligence? I'm not too sure. In Spanish, there is a saying that a fox knows more because he's old than because he's a fox. In other words, experience is very important also. It's not only intelligence. If you judge everything through intelligence, you may be missing many things. There's something called empathy for others that have nothing to do with intelligence. To pity somebody who is in a very dire situation. Our rabbis tell us that the first chapter of the Torah uses the name of God as Elokim, and the second one Hashem Elokim. Why the difference? Because in the beginning, the word Elokim means justice. God wanted to create this world with the attribute of justice. But then he realized that the human being cannot live just by justice. He introduced also the concept of pity, compassion. In other words, Hashem is the manifestation of God's compassion toward human being. Well, we cannot say that God is really two. It's only to give us a better understanding of these two terms that the Bible uses. I remember a member in my congregation, my first congregation in Queens, New York. He was the richest. At least everybody thought he was the richest. On one occasion, when there was a need in an institution in our vicinity that served exceptional children, children that were born with certain disabilities, we needed something for them. So I remember many members of my community responded, including this richest man. But he told me, Rabbi, I am responding because you asked me. You are the rabbi, and if you ask, I will always respond. But I want you to know that I'm not in agreement. I think it's a waste to try to improve these children that have severe limitations, for whatever reason it is. They'll never amount to anything. Let them stay the way they are. Take these resources and invest them in normal children that can make a positive contribution to society. Why do you waste the money on those that won't produce anything? Well, if you think only with your intellect, if you think only with what is the balance sheet at the end, maybe he's right. But that's not what Judaism is about. Judaism says that you have to support, you have to be kind to the widow, to the orphan, to those that have less than you. In other words, Judaism doesn't say that everything works according to the intellect. You also have to do something that you feel is right. There's something called justice. There's something called empathy with others. You know, one of the principles in the Torah says, "Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha." You have to love the next person like you do yourself. Even the next one is different. He may be less than you in your eyes, yet you have to love him. If only the intellect were the measure by which we would make judgments, do you think that in 1948, Israel would have declared its independence? I remember reading, Nachum Goldman was the president of the World Jewish Congress, great Zionist leader, a leader of the Jewish people. He told Ben-Gurion, I don't think this is the time to declare independence. There are too many factors against us, because all the Arab states around Israel said, and actually they did that the following day. If you declare independence, we will invade you. If we would have thought only with our intellect, if we would have gone to a conclusion only by what a logical process, I think maybe we wouldn't have declared the independence of the State of Israel. But there were other factors as well. It was only months after the Holocaust. It was only a short time after so many years of being persecuted, of never being able to decide for yourself what you want to do. You always had to do what somebody else told you. You couldn't postpone that. There was an opportunity to do it, and the Jewish people had to do it because of the experience of the past, even though the intellect may have said something else. And the fact is, were very difficult moments. But on the other hand, there was resolution of the Jewish people. They knew that this was an opportunity that may not present itself again in the future. Who knows? So they took history into their own hands, and against all odds, they were able to overcome all their enemies. Look at Israel today. Look at what several decades of an independent state have produced. Look at the art, look at the music, look at the science, look at the technology. Look at what has come out of the state of Israel. It has become a reference point for other countries. How you are able to turn a desert in a garden, a flourishing garden. It has become not only a refuge, a place of opportunity for many people. Look at how Israel responds to disasters in the rest of the world. On the one hand, we acted with our intellect, but we didn't permit the intellect alone to be the decisive factor. It was history and the will of the Jewish people that determined eventually that Ben-Gurion should declare on May 14, 1948, the independence of the State of Israel.